Apparently, there's a discourse, well, not exactly a discourse, but kind of a disagreement over book ratings. I didn't know this was going on, but I saw a lot of videos about this. So I was like, okay, let me kind of explain my rating system, especially since I'm about to do my wrap up video for the months of May and June because I didn't do those. I was like, why not? Like, why not just make a rating system explanation video? So of course, since all we're doing is talking about how I rate my books, this video is not going to be like the longest video on my channel. It might be a bit shorter, and that's okay. So when it comes to my ratings, I obviously use the standard 1 through 5 star ratings, and I think this just works for me. A lot of people use, some people, not a lot, let me rephrase that. Some people use 1 to 10, and once again, that's fine. However you rate your books is however you rate your books, but I try to just go based off what apps will give you, which is 1 to 5, like Goodreads, Fable, Pagebound, or Storygraph. They will give you a 1 to 5 rating system. When I rate my books, I usually go based off of number 1, how easy it was to understand it, number 2, the pace, number 3, the enjoyment, number 4, the characters, and then number 5, the takes and opinions of the book. So let's say a book has amazing characters, a good plot, but maybe one of the elements is romance and the romance isn't there, but they're trying to convince you that it's there when it's really not. Or let's say this author has put in something in the book where it's like, okay, I don't really agree with this and therefore I don't like the book. Sometimes that can affect my rating of the book. Or let's say there are things in the book that I do agree with and the romance is there, but the characters are awful and the plot is just non-existent. That will automatically make me change my rating of the book. So it really plays into all 5 factors when it comes into my rating system. So now let's actually talk about the stars that I give books. 1 star is this was literally horrible. Or it was a DNF. Whenever I DNF books, I never give books 0 stars because the author did take their time to write the book, to publish it, to edit it, and obviously I'm not going to give a book 0.5 stars if I didn't like it, unless this book was like disgusting and needs to be banned from planet Earth, okay? So most of the times when I DNF a book, I will put DNF, but I will also leave it a 1-star review. So with a 1-star review, most of the time it's because I didn't like anything about the book, whether it's the characters, the plot, the elements of the story, the takes that the author has, or the setting, or whatever I said before. But usually when everything is adding up to a -0, the book will get DNF'd or have a 1-star review. I have a 2-star review. This one is just elevated a bit. Now this means that 1 out of 5 things were met, whether it's characters, plot, setting, world building, elements, or takes. That means I enjoyed at least one part of the book, but the entire book for me would be I would never read again. Whenever I read a 1 or 2-star book, it usually goes up on my Depop. When I have a 3-star book, this is much more in the middle. Maybe 3 or 4 things in this list were met, but for the most part, I'm just like, okay, it could have been upped a bit, and the quality of the book could have been better, or maybe the story, maybe the pace was just too slow for me, and I just wasn't finding myself picking it up or enjoying it as much as I would a 4 or 5-star read. And there's nothing wrong with a 3-star in my opinion. A 3-star I would still recommend to somebody because it was still enjoyable to an extent, and also the pacing most of the time is just not for me, or the setting sometimes is just not for me, and that's completely fine. Another person might rate my 3-star read a 5-star, and same thing goes with my 1 and 2-star reads, or my DNFs. Somebody might rate my DNF a 5-star book, and you know what? That's perfectly fine. But when it comes to my 3 stars, I think anything 3-star and up is something I would recommend. It's really just an in-the-middle book. Maybe if I read it at a different time, it might have been better, or maybe this book just wasn't exactly it for me, but it was definitely something that I would enjoy to read maybe later in life. 4 stars. 4 stars is where 4 out of 5, or maybe 4.5 of these things were met, and I just feel like it was amazing. Sometimes all 5 things can be met, but when it comes to 5-star reviews, which we'll talk about in a second, it really just comes down to feeling, because 4 and 5 stars are really close to me. When I rate a book 4 stars, that just means that there was something lacking that didn't make me feel like, oh my gosh, I need more immediately. Maybe it was just a 4-star review because I was just missing that X factor for me, but everything else was met when it comes to plot, pace, characters, factors, and storytelling. Everything else could have been perfect, but it just missing that X factor for me to feel like it's the perfect book to read anytime. any place. Now, what you've all been waiting for, my 5-star reviews. How do I classify a book as a 5-star book? Most of the time, it's read in 24 hours to 48 hours, but not even that. Sometimes it could have been read in a span of 2 to 3 weeks. But if I feel like the pace was fast and I was enjoying the story, it was gripping, it was exciting, I love the characters, the plot, the storytelling, the elements, and the stances that the author had, and I also feel like it had that X factor for me, it's going to immediately become a 5-star book. And most of the times a 5-star book is something that I feel like I'm going to remember for a very long time. So I want to take a look at my shelf real quick and see if I see a 5-star book and determine, okay, do I still remember the plot of this book? Now, the question is, do I remember which ones are even 5 stars? It might even be on the shelf, which is actually quite crazy. I might have to look on the other shelf, because if you guys are new here, I have 2 shelves and a TBR cart. TBR cart is a whole other story. It was not supposed to be a TBR cart, but it turned out that way. Whatever. So I actually do see a 5-star over here. I'm going to go grab it. Now, I have my 5-star book, and I'm just going to tell you guys a brief description of what this book is about and why I loved it so much. Releasing 10 by Chloe Walsh. Now, this is literally the one I grabbed because it's the first 5-star that I saw. I might have others on my shelf that I just didn't recognize were 5 stars, but, you know, I digress. I'm pretty sure that Catching Fire is one, but I want to make sure before I say that because it might be a 4.5 or a 4. So, Releasing 10 is actually, I don't even know what number it is, but it's book 6, but it actually takes place before any of the books do, and it's really just Liz and Hugh's story. And the reason I loved it so much was quite literally because of the representation of mental health issues and also some traumatic events that happen in a lot of characters' lives, but also the character dynamics, the relationships, the takes that the author has in the book. There's this whole thing. Well, we might get into another video about the takes of Chloe Walsh. I don't know. I have to research, okay? But as well as the fact that Liz has been one of my favorite characters since the first book, aka Binding 13, and that is what made this book a 5-star book for me. I feel like I'm pitching this story to you guys, and I'm so sorry, that's not the intent here. If I were to pitch any book, it'd be my book that I wrote right here, The Ruined Royals, which has been a lot of people's 4 and 5-star reads, so maybe check it out. Links in the description on Amazon, Etsy, and on my Depop. And on Depop, it's for discount, so you might want to go check that out. Now, with that being said, I would love to hear how you guys rate your books 1 through 5 or 1 through 10. I really just want to see everybody's perspectives because I don't feel like there should be this major debate on whether 3 stars are good or bad, because there hasn't been a debate on 3 stars or bad or good. I don't think there should be a debate because it really just depends on the person and how they perceive things. And in my opinions, 3 stars are neither good nor bad. They're more in the middle books that could have been good if I read it at a later time or an earlier time in my life. And it really just depends, once again, on the person, their views, and how much they like to enjoy books and how they rate their books. With that being said, thank you guys for watching. Midnight Kisses. Mwah. See you guys next video. I love you guys so much. Please love you more. Mario, and goodbye.